Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Wrestling with Johners Live, part of the Johners Podcasting Network. Of course, this is episode 206, and today I'm delighted to be joined all the way across the pond there by the Vape God Fletch Malone. So Fletch, fantastic having you on the show. I was going to introduce you as one of the most promising young performers, young wrestlers to come out of the Wisconsin area, and that's true as far as I can see. But how the devil are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and promote the brand a little bit.
Oh, 100%, 100%. So much to talk about regarding yourself, your career, how you got started in the business, indie wrestling in the Wisconsin area. But let's start off. You now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've got my facts right here. You're the current BCW, Brew City Wrestling, All Wisconsin Fair and Festival Heavyweight Champion. So congrats, my friend. Congratulations, champion. So
I appreciate it.
You only won that a short while ago, I understand. But how does it feel right now to be the All Wisconsin Fairs and Festivals Heavyweight Champion? Tell me about it.
Well, full disclosure, I am no longer the Fairs and Festival champion. I lost it.
What happened?
I lost it in a battle royal at Summerfest last week.
No,
it happens. It's a battle royal. Anything can happen. Got low blow Nick Colucci, got him out of there, and I was laughing. And then the guy who ended up winning, his name's Armando Alvarez. He ended up coming out and eliminating me. And I turned around, and I was like, "What is this? What is this? I thought we were friends."
That's just not on, is it? Really, that's just not on at all. But well, hey, listen, I'm sure there's more championship gold around the corner. Hey, based on what happened at the Battle Royal, there's got to be some comeuppance there. There's got to be a rematch of some sort, and that's going to headline the show. There's a bit of vengeance there, a bit of comeuppance. But when we're talking about BCW, of course, we're talking about Brew City Wrestling, based in Waukesha, Wisconsin. How do you pronounce that?
Waukesha.
Wisconsin. I think that's between Madison and Milwaukee, isn't it? So
it is. It's always great to hear.
Between those two.
It's always great to hear people that aren't from Wisconsin or don't live in Wisconsin pronounce Wisconsin city names. It's hilarious.
Yes, that's a bit of a tongue twister for anybody outside of that area. But I mean, the company's been around since 2004, so a fair old while. What's that? 17 years now. But for any of my listeners or viewers who may not be too familiar with Brew City Wrestling, it's one of the main, if not the main, promotion in that area. Tell us a bit about the company and when you first became involved with it.
So Brew City Wrestling is run by Frankie DeFalco. He runs Thumper's Den Academy down in Cudahy, Wisconsin. It's where I train with him currently. And you are correct in that Brew City is easily the number one promotion in the Milwaukee area. Followed closely by ICW Milwaukee, but that's another story for another time in the podcast.
Yeah.
But Brew City Wrestling, it's an awesome experience. Just the amount of superstars and people and talent that I've gotten to meet and work with, it's incredible. Because like Frank worked with AWA and NWA in the 70s and 80s. He's got all his connections and stuff. I got to wrestle Hornswoggle last week. That was really cool. That was definitely a career highlight so far.
He's another hometown boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from up in Oshkosh, about an hour and a half north of here. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he's got a school up there too, ACW, if you're in that area.
Doing some great stuff. And regarding BCW, Brew City Wrestling, what would you say kind of makes it kind of stand out and is quite unique compared to its competition or some of the other indie groups around the local area?
Production. We easily have the best production value in the Milwaukee area, if not the state. The storytelling is long term. It's not you're not gonna blow your load real quick.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna tease you and we're gonna make you want more and make you want to come back.
Yeah.
And then every now and then we'll pull out a gimmick show. Like last month was an all cage match show. Like all 7 matches were inside of a cage and it was awesome. And honestly, just the roster that we have, like the pure talent and the minds that we have on the roster is just, it's incredible. From Dysfunction to, you know, Nick Colucci to Joey Avalon, like it's just a bunch of talented, you know, guys and gals, and I love picking their brains and learning from them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic roster. And I think I'm right in saying that it's mostly local wrestlers that have kind of performed for quite a few years with Brew City. And
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. But like I say, some quite established names there that have certainly learned the ropes over a number of years. And Brew City Wrestling, it prides itself on being old school, kind of an old school mentality, and also family friendly as well.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. As far as the old school thing goes, like it's old school psychology, it's old school storytelling with new school style, if that makes sense. Like the matches themselves are new school. Like it'll get you excited, it'll get you on the edge of your seat. But the storytelling and the psychology, that's old school. Like it's good guy versus bad guy. Like it's very clear who's the good guy, it's very clear who's the bad guy, who you should boo, who you should cheer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say, I'm very kind of lucky to have you on the podcast tonight, because you are possibly one of the busiest wrestlers in the whole of the US right now. Because you're not one Fletch, but two shows tonight. So I believe Brew City Wrestling are performing, and also 4WW. So
yes, Fourth Wall Wrestling.
So,
yes.
So tell us about them two shows and your involvement in those two shows.
So I'm honestly not sure who I am wrestling tonight at Brew City Wrestling. It's going to be at the grand opening of the Wrestling Taco in Milwaukee. I believe it's on 86th and Oklahoma. I'm not 100% sure I have that address. I can go ahead and plug that out there real quick.
As long as you
1606 South 84th Street in West Allis, Wisconsin. But it's the grand opening of the Wrestling Taco. We were honored to be a part of the ribbon cutting ceremony when they first opened the doors for their soft grand opening. Tonight there's going to be a taco eating contest before the show. The winner will get $100. It's the person who eats the most tacos in 3 minutes. So that should be very interesting. The mouth of the Midwest, JP, has already officially entered himself in the competition, and that man can eat. So that's worth watching it in itself. And then later on in the night, I've got Fourth Wall Wrestling at 75th in Oklahoma at Buena Vista Banquet Hall in West Allis, and it is going to be me, the Vape God Fletch Malone, and the white whale of professional wrestling, the violent gentleman Aesop Mitchell, taking on Woodsy. Nobody knows what Woodsy is. The dude is weird. Okay, he's all kinds of out there. Like, he reminds me of Rob Van Dam and like Seth Rogen mixed. If that makes it
got to be seen to be believed.
Yeah, exactly. Like he always says Woodsy. No one knows what Woodsy is, but whatever. It's my former tag partner. He turned on me because I didn't know what Woodsy was. That's besides the point. CJ Cole. And then we've got the Marman, who is a Milwaukee legend. He is returning to the ring in tag competition, and he and Woodsy CJ Cole are going to bow down.
Yeah, it sounds like a hell of a show. And so just to talk a little bit about Fourth Wall Wrestling, hasn't been around as long as Brew City. I think they've been around for a good 6 or 7 years now. They appear to be another local promotion to keep your eye on, and possibly more for, dare I say, a more adult audience, more mature audience compared to the family-friendly Brew City.
It is more adult oriented. It's still family friendly. It's just probably more for older kids, if that makes sense. You know, more like PG-13. Yeah, more like PG-13 than anything. TV-14, whatever rating you want to say.
Yeah.
And the thing about Fourth Wall is it's called Fourth Wall Wrestling for a reason. You know, every now and then we'll do something. You'll be like, hey, wait a second. We'll be like, gotcha. You know, like we'll break that fourth wall every now and then. So it's a little bit of a different atmosphere. It's a little bit more fan interactive than your normal wrestling show.
Yeah, absolutely. And am I right in thinking that Brew City are running another show tomorrow as well that you're a part of?
Yeah, 2 shows tomorrow, actually. 4 shows in
Wow,
2 days.
busy,
Yeah.
busy.
We are Brew City is actually double shotting tomorrow. We're in North Prairie at 2 o'clock and then in Waukesha at 7 for Fall
Yeah,
Frenzy, where
there we go.
myself and the porn stash Peter Schwans, aka the Vape Gods, yes, that's plural. He has been deemed a Vape God. Are taking on the BCW Tag Team Champions, 2 men that I mentioned earlier who are fantastic talents. Joey Avalon and Dysfunction. They have named themselves Disheveled. I don't get it, but whatever. Joey's a weird dude. It's going to be an honor and a pleasure to make them bend the knee and kiss the foot of the Vape Gods.
Absolutely. And I have to ask, are the championships on the line? Is there a
Oh,
chance
yes.
you could get some gold by the end of the weekend?
Oh, yeah. Tag team titles are on the line, brother.
Absolutely. Now, an interesting question about porn stash Peter Swans,
Okay.
and that's a hell of a name and a fantastic character. But you were former rivals of one another, weren't you? You've had
We were.
matches before, and now you're teaming together. So, what's the story that kind of brought you together after those matches against porn stash?
So in our first match, he was actually my debut, my singles debut in Brew City Wrestling. We had a hell of a battle. You know, he ended up pulling out the victory, but that's, you know, it happens. He was the better man that day. We developed a mutual respect for each other behind the scenes, and he ended up reaching out to me when he was presented with the opportunity for the tag team titles, and I accepted. Had the paparazzi bothering me about it and everything. It was annoying, but you know, the people needed to know.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Wisconsin wrestling scene, because there is a lot of wrestling legacy, isn't there, in
There
Wisconsin
really
area?
is.
And there's so many renowned names that have come out of the great state, including, you know, dare I say, the Crusher, Ed Lewis, Austin Aries, Mr. Anderson, of course, and many more. Not forgetting Hornswoggle, one of my favorites.
Tommaso Ciampa,
Tommaso
current
Ciampa,
NXT champion. Just saying.
exactly, and I believe somebody performing on the SmackDown roster, Rick Boogs, is from the
Yes,
Wisconsin area
he is
as well.
actually. Yes. He's from.
So
I want to say the Madison area.
yeah, so that's really interesting, and kind of, like I say, all these names have graced our TV screens and our wrestling rings over the many years and decades. But it's really interesting to know that Wisconsin legacy kind of lives strong even today, and through the independent wrestling and through our more mainstream promotions. So give us your thoughts on some of them legends that I've mentioned.
So honestly, I am fairly new to the Wisconsin scene. I just moved up here last February, right before COVID started.
Yeah.
So I am still learning the Wisconsin history of, you know, especially the indie wrestling scene. Because like when I moved up here, I didn't know who Dysfunction was. I didn't know who Joey Avalon was, but these are like, you know, the top guys in the state. And it's really cool to like I'm excited to go to my first Crusher Fest next month. Like it's literally a whole festival in South Milwaukee dedicated to the Crusher. They unveiled a statue last year and everything.
Yeah.
There's going to be a GLCW show there, run by Dave Hero and Armani Angel. Angel Armani. I don't know why I said that backwards. He's gonna kill me if he heard that, but whatever. But yeah, it's really cool to see the amount of talent that have come out of the Milwaukee area and the Green Bay area, and you know, just the whole state. It's really cool. Like, because you know, I grew up in the state of Georgia originally, and you know, there's some there's a lot of rising talent coming out of the Atlanta area, where, you know, especially like guys that I trained with. But it's cool to like move to a different state and see a whole different scene and see, you know, whole different styles and learn more history of the business.
Yeah. And from my research and kind of watching some action from the Wisconsin area, it seems like quite a vibrant wrestling area, a vibrant indie area. Like I say, we've mentioned a few promotions already, but did you get like a feeling that there is something special happening in the Wisconsin area and kind of closer to where you're wrestling as well?
I think that Wisconsin wrestling is rebounding from COVID better than anybody could have expected.
That's good
because like at BCW, the lowest show that we've had draw wise is like 250, and that was battling when the Bucks were in the finals.
Yeah.
Which is, it was like, I don't know how big basketball is over, in the UK, but in Milwaukee, it's an entire culture in and of itself. Like Bucks in 6, I had no idea what that was. I had to learn the history of that. And we had a show on the day of Game 6, and we weren't gonna, we were barely competing with that, and we still drew over 200.
That's impressive still. That's impressive. And considering, the times that we're in at the moment, and
Right.
wrestling kind of just getting back on its feet, encouraging crowds. A lot of wrestling fans might still be a bit nervous about kind of going to events where there's other people around. But that's pretty good. And it's good to hear that the Wisconsin wrestling scene is vibrant and exciting. I'm certainly excited about kind of what's happening in that area for sure. But I want to talk a bit about yourself then, Fletch, because your character, your gimmick, the Vape God. Firstly, tell us how the gimmick started way back in the day, and then tell us who the Vape God is. What is the gimmick of the Vape God? Give us your kind of thought process behind that character.
Well, it's not really a gimmick. It's a lifestyle. Like I mean, clearly you can see, like, I have a mod worthy of a god. Like I wanted, when I first came up with the name, though, I wanted to go with Modfather, and being a UK resident, obviously, that I could not go with the Modfather because of Flash Morgan Webster, and I almost cried the day that I was introduced to Flash Morgan Webster. I was like, no, that's perfect. But so I was an actual smoker before I started training. I was at about a pack and a half a day for 4 to 5 years. I started training, and about a month and a half in, I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to literally like pass out if I keep smoking cigarettes. Oh, excuse me. And one of my coworkers vaped, and before I started vaping, I was one of those people. I was like, vaping, loser. Like all the Subaru memes and all that stuff. Like I was like, whatever. And then I actually tried it, and within 2 days, I could feel a difference in my lungs. And I like to say the moment I hit the vape for the first time is when the Vape God was born, in real life, so to speak. But I was, like I said, I started training. I was training down at WWA 4 in Atlanta with AR Fox. And what he told me when, I started coming up with character ideas, he said, take something either extremely outlandish that you can just fully buy into, and it's just not you at all, but it's crazy, something you can live, or take one part of you and turn it up to 15. And I was like, well, I can take this and turn it up to 20. Why not? Yeah. So originally came up with the leader of Vape Nation, and when the winning streak was happening, I was given the title by the Council of Gods. I was given the title of Vape God. I had a vision, brought me up into the chamber, sitting. I was like, whoa, what is this? It was like eight, nine gods just sitting around me. They were like, Vape God, and sent me back down. I was like, okay, all right. Cool.
There we go. And we all bow down to the Vape God now.
Oh, everyone bows down in the end.
Let's talk a bit about your wrestling fandom and how you first kind of came across the sport of pro wrestling then. Was you a fan from kind of an early age? Was you introduced to it by friends and family, or did you kind of stumble across it by chance? When did you first come across pro wrestling then, Fletch?
So originally I was a WCW kid. I was, 5, 6 at the height of WCW. My dad grew up watching wrestling, so that was something that we did together when I spent the weekends with him. Every now and then, I'd be there on a Monday, we'd watch Nitro, and being from the Georgia area, Goldberg was my guy. He was a Georgia Bulldog, he was an Atlanta Falcon, and just the raw intensity of the character, me as a kid, I was just like, yo, he's awesome. Yes. And then when WCW died in 2002, I was like, I don't want to watch anymore. You know, like I think Goldberg's gone. I don't care anymore. So like I'd watch intermittently. Like if it was on, I'd be like, oh, cool, WWE. You know, let's watch. You know, like I watched the WrestleManias, I watched the Royal Rumbles. But when Goldberg came back in 2016, I was like, oh shit, you know, I gotta watch this now. Like I gotta see Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. Yes, I gotta see redemption for that. So I started watching, you know, regularly. Went to a live show in 2017. I want to say it was a Raw in Green Bay. Me being a smaller person, you know, smaller physique, stature. I saw when when Pac was still Adrian Neville, you know, he was a smaller guy. Obviously, he was, you know, he ripped, but you know, stature wise, he was a smaller dude. I was like, huh, you know, if he can do it, I mean, maybe I could do it. That was the first time I had the thought, and I was like, I didn't really follow through with it. I just kind of joked around about it, and then I moved back to Georgia and started doing some backyard wrestling. And originally I was the Manchester Mauler. You might really get a kick out of this. The UK viewers will get a kick out of this. So I was an American-born kid whose parents hated America, so they moved to UK. And I grew up in Manchester, but without a British accent. You know, I still talk to my regular voice. Repped Manchester United all the way, and I was just anti-American. And my first rivalry in wrestling was against the American Sweetheart, and we had ended the rivalry with a territories match. Like it was.
Oh, that's so funny. That's hilarious.
The epitome of backyard wrestling. Like it was awful. And then I started training, and I was like, all right, yeah, no, I can't do this backyard wrestling thing anymore. I'm going to get hurt. Like I watch my backyard matches now, and I cringe at everything.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about AR Fox. And
yes.
I know he's a trainer and a mentor of yours. How early into your training was you introduced to AR? Because I know that, like I say, you got a close relationship with him, close professional relationship, and he is a bit of a mentor as well as being a trainer of yours. And like I say, I know that you two have actually battled in the ring as well, haven't you?
Yes, we have. I'll go in order of the questions. I'll get to the match in just a second. I was actually introduced to AR Fox the day I started training. He's the head trainer at WWA 4. Luckily enough, at the time, I didn't know much about independent wrestling. I'd never seen Lucha Underground at the time, so I didn't really know who AR Fox was. So like I was able to like keep my calm. I was just like, oh hey, you know. I'm gonna peel back the curtain just a little bit. One of the main reasons that one of the reasons that I wanted to go to A4 was because we have the same last name. Like my shoot last name is Fox, and obviously that's not his shoot last name. But I was like, oh, cool, that's awesome. And he had a couple guys in WWE with Apollo Crews and Heath Slater at the time, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll email him. So I emailed, didn't get an email back. I used my personal email, and they had a Cody Rhodes seminar about a month and a half later. I was like, cool, I'm going to go. Let's go. It said, all experience welcome, whatever. I ended up getting there late, didn't get to do the seminar, but I talked to Ayla, which is AR's wife. She handles like the business side of the school. And I was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. She was like, wait, so-and-so Fox? I was like, yeah, like that's me. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought your email was a prank, because apparently people will do that all the time, claiming to be related to Fox.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, so she didn't reply to my email because she thought I was pranking them, and she was like, oh, let's get you started and signed up, blah blah blah. I was like, all right, cool. So I was that was my first interaction with WWA 4. But yeah, no, being able to be trained by Fox was the biggest blessing I could have ever been given at the start of my career. If I had started training with anybody else, I don't know if I would have kept doing it. Like just the way Fox trains, because he's extremely hands-on. Like it's really hard to explain. It's just it's a feeling you get from him that he wants you to learn as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many nights that I stayed overnight at A4 just talking wrestling and running drills and going over situations with Fox, and it was the biggest blessing I could have ever gotten.
Oh, absolutely. And where do you train currently then? Does Brew City or kind of the Wisconsin area where you are, do they have a training school?
Yeah, so Brew City Wrestling, like I said earlier, is run by Frankie DeFalco.
Yes.
Is Frankie the Thumper DeFalco? He runs the Thumpers down in Cudahy. It's like a 20-minute drive down from Milwaukee. We train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
That's really, really cool. And you've been wrestling for about 2 years now. Am I right in thinking that?
Give or take, yeah. I made my debut July of 2018. I ended up taking about a year off because I was suffering from a neck and shoulder injury, and I was unable to get it treated because I did not have insurance. And then, ironically, when COVID hit, I lost my dub, so I got insurance, and I was able to get treated and get fixed. So personally and professionally, COVID is the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Gotcha.
Because it enabled my career to get back on track. Like don't get me wrong, COVID is a horrible situation. Like it's absolutely horrible. But professionally, it was the best thing that could have ever happened.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And I want to talk a bit about your kind of in-ring style and your move set, your technique in the ring, because you use a lot of, from what I've seen in the matches, a variety of kicks. You've got a variety of suplexes, not forgetting that top rope senton. Tell us about your in-ring offense and how you've developed your in-ring style since you started them.
So I grew up playing sports as a kid. I played soccer for 10 years. I was always, I always had, rather strong legs. So when I started wrestling, I tried using a little bit of my amateur wrestling background, and I found out that I was a little bit too rusty to use my amateur wrestling background. So I was like, all right, cool. Maybe I'll, throw in some strikes because, like I said earlier, I'm a smaller stature guy, and, my strikes pack a punch.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to lift these 250, 260 pound dudes without wearing them down a little bit. So I decided to play to my strengths, use my body as a weapon instead of my muscles as a weapon, considering, I got some muscles, but it's nothing crazy. I got them long biceps instead of the tall biceps. You know what I mean? But yeah, it started off as vape style, and then it just kind of molded into a hybrid style between a little bit of high flying, every now and then I'll pull out that Cloud9 top rope. Every now and then I'll pull out a springboard type maneuver. It's got to be the right situation because that's a high risk, and Fletch don't do super high risk.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of explosiveness in your action.
Oh, definitely,
a lot of pace there, a lot of explosiveness, yeah, I mean that's kind of that's your style, isn't it? That's your niche now. Is the kicks, the strikes, and the explosiveness, the occasional top rope move, but a very impressive kind of moveset, I have to say.
I appreciate it. Can't forget about that deadly pump knee though, because if I hit you with that pump knee, it's done. It's done. You're down for the count.
It's done and dusted if you hit him with that. I've seen you hit a few of your unlucky opponents with that for sure. But would you say that any of your moves or your in-ring style is maybe influenced by any of your wrestling heroes or maybe anybody on the scene nowadays?
I try to pull a little bit from everybody, and it's not necessarily move wise. It's more like there's a little bit of Miz influence in my character. There's a little bit of like Sami Zayn, Orange Cassidy type selling in my character. Especially Sami Zayn when he's a heel. Like oh god, I love it. I love Sami Zayn so much. But like growing up, like Jeff Hardy was a big, hero, so to speak, of mine. Like my favorite match of all time, like I said, I grew up watching all the WrestleManias. WrestleMania X7, the triple threat ladder match with the Dudley, Edge, and Christian and the Hardy Boys. Favorite match of all time.
Yeah, cannot disagree with that.
Like if I'm in a bad mood, that's the match that I put on to make me smile.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but like I took my pump knee from Kenny Omega a little bit. I like to say that I do a little bit better, but I toot my own horn. Whatever. He's only the PWI #1. It's okay. It's okay.
And of course, there's a fair few of your matches available for my listeners and viewers to go out and sample. You've got your own YouTube channel, of course, where quite a few of
Yes.
your matches are. So if you want to see kind of a Fletch Malone, you can do on his YouTube channel, of course, and lots of really cool action and full matches there. But another thing that really stands out about you, Fletch, is your confidence and your ability in front of a microphone, in front of a camera. You only have to go out and search your social media. There's tons of videos there of you cutting promos, doing kind of piece to cameras, and that appears to be another strength of yours is your confidence and your promo ability in front of a camera and in front of a mic.
Yeah, I've growing up, I was always considered a bit of a dramatic kid. I was always, the one to, make things a bigger deal than they were. I wasn't introduced into any sort of like acting or anything until senior year of high school, unfortunately. I wish that I was able to find that a little bit earlier in my life. But yeah, like I said earlier, it's turning myself up to 15. Like it's just me, depending on what role I'm playing. It's either the douchey parts of me or the nice guy parts of me. And 9 times out of 10 it's the douchey parts of me. I love to make people hate me. The booze fuel me. Like I very recently started getting booked as a good guy, and it's weird. Like I don't know if I like people cheering for me or not.
Yeah, like I say, but eventually there has to be that turn, doesn't it? It depends who you're going to turn on and how
true.
it's going to happen. But I mean, let's say from everything I've seen, from the in-ring ability to your promo work to the character and the moniker of the Vape God, I think you're kind of building a very nice package there and becoming the kind of, dare I say, the accomplished wrestler. But you must be very proud of what you've achieved so far in a relatively short space of time.
I am. It's sometimes it's hard to look back and actually acknowledge all that you have accomplished.
That will come, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely hard. Like I have to stop every now and then and be like, holy shit, this just happened. Like last week when I got to wrestle Hornswoggle, like after the match, I was just like, I just wrestled Hornswoggle. Like, what is my life right now? Like next month, I'm gonna be in a locker room with Tommy Dreamer and Rhino. Like, it's amazing, but at the same time, it's not enough. Like, I always want more. I never stop. Like, I'm gonna turn my camera. Oh yeah, that way. Like, I don't know if you can read that or not. It says grind. Like, do the mundane work. It's what it takes, and I hate it, but I love it at the same time.
Yeah. We've had a comment that's come through saying the Vape God always puts on a great match.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we start to kind of draw this interview to a close, I mean, who are some of your favourite opponents that you've had over the last few years? Then, Fletch. So some of the ones that kind of really stand out as being you've had fantastic chemistry. You've put on a good match or several good matches with this opponent or opponents. Who stands out in your mind as being some of your favourite opponents to have a match with?
I mean, obviously AR Fox, like that's my favorite match of all time. It's the first and only time that we have been in the ring in singles competition. It was on New Year's Day this year. Like it's available on the YouTube. My dad was able to be there. My little brother was able to be there. My best friend, like his whole family was able to be there. It was really cool, just overall. And I'm able to say that I was able to pull out a victory on AR Fox. Like how many people can actually say that? Really cool. And as far as up here goes, CJ Cole, like I said earlier, that I have a match with later tonight. One-on-one, we've had one like not horrible match, but it wasn't good. But we've had 3 just absolute bangers, and it's always good to go one-on-one with him. It should be fun to tag against him tonight. Sierra is a rising star up here in the Wisconsin area. She was recently featured on AEW Dark against the Bunny. I got to wrestle her one-on-one for the first time last Friday, and that was really cool. We're actually really close friends, like behind the scenes, and since we became friends, that was one of the matches that I was looking forward to having. So those are probably three of my favorite matches, at least from this year, because there's so many matches to think back on.
Yeah, and so many more to come as well. And as we mentioned earlier, I said you were the current BCW champion, but you're the former BCW All Wisconsin Fairs and Festivals heavyweight champion. But now that you've had the taste for gold, and hopefully you might get some more over the weekend with that tag championship match. But now that you've had the taste, Fletch, have you got your sights set on other bits of title wear, hardware, gold, and any champions you might have your eye on in the local area?
Well, I did just debut last month for F5 Underground in Fenton, Michigan. They are starting the process to crown their first ever heavyweight champion. So my eye is definitely on that. I will be making my debut. I believe the show just got rescheduled to sometime in November, but is for All Heel Wrestling in, I can't remember the name of the town, in Illinois. They are making their debut show next month, so got some eyes on heavyweight titles, Midwest titles. ICW gold always on my mind. BCW heavyweight championship, BCW tag titles, always got gold on my mind, brother. There's a reason that my mod is gold and my gear is gold.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's plenty more gold down the road for you. But before we let you go, an opportunity for you to, first of all, tell us where you're performing again over the weekend, because you've got a lot of shows, a very busy weekend starting from tonight and through to tomorrow. And then hit us with your socials as well, where we can find you and say hi and learn more about the Vape God.
I can do that. Like I said earlier, tonight, Brew City Wrestling at the Wrestling Taco in West Allis, Wisconsin. Bell time is at 6 p.m. Taco eating contest is at 5 p.m. Facebook user, it doesn't show your name, so I apologize for not saying your name. I would love to see myself as the F5 champ as well.
Oh, yeah.
Later on tonight, I will be at Fourth Wall Wrestling at the Buena Vista Banquets in West Allis, Wisconsin at 8 p.m. Tomorrow we are in North Prairie, Wisconsin at 2 p.m. and then at Waukesha, Wisconsin at the Elks Lodge at 7 p.m. going for those tag team championships at Brew City Wrestling. And as far as social media goes, get your pens and paper ready, ladies and gentle vapors, because got a list coming to you. All right. You can find me on the Twitter machine at Vape God Fletch, Instagram at the Fletch Malone, Facebook Fletch Malone, YouTube Fletch Malone, Twitch and PSN. Go ahead and follow me. Add me as a friend at Vape God Fletch. And then Pro Wrestling Tees, Brainbuster Tees, and StoreFrontier.com. Search Fletch Malone or Vape God Fletch Malone, and you will find me. Go buy that merch. I got a family to support. This is my job, y'all.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget to check out Fletch Malone on his YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
And lots of a ton of fun matches there featuring Fletch Malone and many of his matches over the last few years. But the Vape God, Fletch Malone, it's been amazing speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the Wrestling with John's podcast. Hope you have a very good and successful weekend. And hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon, my friend.
Much appreciated, brother. It has been a pleasure blessing these peasants with my presence. And ladies and gentle vapors, always remember to bow down.
There we go. Fletch Malone, thank you very much.
Thank you.